Hello dear students. So today we are going to talk about the topic voltage divider biasing, thereafter the concept of amplifier, and along with that AC and DC load line. These concepts today we are going to talk. So see here, we already saw the methods of biasing, in which the voltage divider bias method is the most prominent method among all methods. So why it is? Because of it gives a better stabilization compared to other methods, and so it is very prominently used method for the biasing. So here figure shows that is a common emitter configuration using voltage divider biasing method. So here it is shown, this is emitter which is common to base and collector, and the VCC, the base is connected to these two resistors, that is R1 and R2, and one end is connected to ground and another end, that is A, is connected to VCC. So voltage across this resistor R2 actually providing the biasing to the base and emitter junction. So as VCC is fixed, so depending on the value of R1 and R2, we can choose the potential at point B, and so R1 and R2 provides the biasing. So it is called as a voltage divider biasing method. So here the same VCC is connected to RC also, and it is connected to collector, and then through emitter it is connected to ground. So here we see there are two branches in voltage divider biasing method. So here whenever we want to bias this transistor to make base emitter junction forward bias, we need to connect the voltage. So here it is, this is resistance RC, the current resistance is IC, so that is a voltage across this resistance is IC RC. That is one thing. Second, this is collector and emitter, so voltage across collector and emitter is given by VCE, and voltage across resistance RE. So the resistance RE is basically used for the stabilization purpose. It is very important in this voltage divider biasing method. So in which there are three resistances used, that is R1, R2 and R3, and voltage across resistance RE is RE into IE. So this RE provides a proper stabilization, that you remember. Now we are going to talk about its working. So whenever VCC is connected, so the branch A, B and ground, it is one branch, this is parallel to this branch. So voltage across both the branches are same, that you first remember. So due to this VCC, current will start to flow from RC through RC, that is IC. But remember that this IC will flow then and only then when base emitter junction is forward bias. So remember that when base emitter junction is not forward bias, as diode is in transistor is not in conducting state, so resistance between collector and emitter is very high, and total potential will appear across VCE. So in order to flow the collector current, we need to provide voltage between base and emitter, that is VBE. So the moment we connect VCC here, according to the value of R2, we know that in case of voltage divider, that is voltage across R2 is given by R2 upon these resistances, that is R1 plus R2 into applied voltage VCC. This much voltage will appear here, and which will make it forward bias. Let us consider this diode is fully forward biased. The moment it is fully forward biased, collector current IC will start to flow in the circuit. And we know that according to transistor, we know that IE is equal to IB plus IC. But we have already studied the current amplification factor beta, that is output current divided by input current, that is IC upon IB. So in which we know that this IB is very small. So we can assume that IC is exactly equal to IK. That means we can neglect this, that is IC is nearly equal to IE. So this way the current is flowing through RC, through this transistor, it flows through RE. This is first thing. Now here from figure it is clear that according to applying the laws, VCC, we are talking about this branch and this branch. So first VCC is equal to, here it is I1 R1 plus I2 R2, and we know that the current I1 is flowing here. When it reaches point B, it is divided into two parts, that is some current flows through base and some current flows through R2. So I1 is equal to I2 plus IB. But we know IB is very small, as we discussed according to beta. We assume that I2 is nearly equal to I1, and therefore we can write that VCC is equal to I1 into R1 plus R2. Since I2 is nearly equal to I1, so we are directly treating it as a I1. So here from we get the current I1 which is flowing through this branch is I1 is equal to VCC upon R1 plus R2. Now note that this I1 is actually divided into IB and I2. Now we are talking about the second branch. The voltage drop across R2 now we are going to calculate. So we know that what is voltage drop across R2? That is I2 into R2. So if we consider this voltage divider method, then voltage drop across R2 V2 is equal to, that is, as we know that according to voltage divider, voltage across R2 is equal to R2, we already saw, that is R1 plus R2 into applied voltage VCC. That term is written here. So applying KVL to base circuit. Now this is base circuit. We are going to think about Kirchhoff's voltage law in base circuit. So how much is voltage at the base? So the voltage at base is voltage between base and ground, that is nothing but V2, that is I2 R2. But look here, when this voltage is applied to base, it is divided in two parts, that is some voltage is across base and emitter junction and some voltage is across the resistance Re. So V2 is equal to VBE plus IE into Re. So from this we can find out the collector emitter current, that is IE is equal to V2 minus VB upon E. So we can say that IC is also equal to V2 minus VB upon Re. So now remember that this equation shows that IC does not depend on current amplification factor. If you look at this equation, here it is IC is equal to V2 minus VB upon Re. So this is resistance and these are voltages. No mentioning of beta factor is there, that is IC, or beta is a current amplification of transistor, so it is independent of this beta factor. Second important thing, we know that VB, that base emitter voltage, it is very small, that it does not affect the collector current. So if it varies, it does not affect much to the collector current, that you should know. Now whatever the collector current IC, now it is flowing through current as a IE in Re. Thus IC is independent of transistor parameters because of it does not depend on beta. Hence we get good stabilization in case of voltage divider bias method. So in short, here Re is used for type stabilization. Base is given voltage by voltage divider arrangement. So this voltage, that is V2, is divided among VB and voltage across Re, and we get collector current, that is VC, IC is equal to V2 minus VB upon Re. Now applying Kirchhoff's voltage law to collector circuit. So this is the circuit in which, see, here it is VCC is equal to voltage across this plus voltage across collector emitter plus voltage across RE. So VCC minus ICRC minus VCE minus IERE is equal to 0. So from this equation we can say VCE is equal to VCC minus ICRC minus IERE, and therefore VCE is equal to VCC minus IC into RC plus RE, and we know that IC is nearly equal to IE, so that is why we treated this as a IC and we took it common. So now excellent stabilization is provided by the RE. So how the stabilization is being provided, that we are going to see. So suppose, let us consider, when current IC flows through this transistor, the temperature of transistor increases. That is first thing. So when temperature of transistor increases, its resistance decreases, and that is why again the value of IC increases. So more the IC, more temperature is. That is first thing. So I increases, the value of VRE increase. So when IC increases, what is happening, that you remember that. When IC increases, so obviously voltage across RE also increases. But it is important to note that when voltage across VRE increases, but if you see this network, so in which actual total voltage applied is V2, that is voltage between base and ground. So that must be equal to this plus this. So naturally if this increases, VBE decreases. And the moment VBE decreases, look, the decrease in VBE reduces the base current. So when base current is reduced, so forward biasing of the transistor reduces, and which controls the IC, and automatically IC also decreases and it maintains its original value. So this is the very important thing in case of voltage divider bias method, that whenever collector current increases, temperature increases, and due to temperature more collector current flows. So when collector current flows, voltage drop across RE increases, but V2 is equal to VB plus RE. So if RE increases means VB decreases, which reduces the base current, causing the forward bias, lessening the forward biasing of this diode, and which controls the IC. So this is just about voltage divider bias method. Okay. Now let us consider transistor as an amplifier. So see, remember that we know already that amplification means, what is amplification? That, see, here it is input signal and I have shown here it is output signal. So if you observe the difference, here amplitude of this signal is small, whereas the amplitude of this signal is large. So that is basically, amplification is nothing but the strengthening of the signal, keeping its general shape as it is. That is what first thing is in amplification. Now here we see the transistor as an amplifier. So the most important condition that we know, that base emitter junction should be base emitter junction should be forward bias. That is base emitter junction forward bias. And second important thing, that collector junction. So here it is a common emitter. So collector emitter junction must be reverse bias. So for this purpose we have used the battery potential, that is VCC, between emitter and collector. We know that the transistor is NPN type. So in order to reverse bias this N, we have connected it to battery positive polarity, and here to make this junction forward bias, this is NP, so base is. Now let us consider that first there is no signal. So signal is absent. Let us consider there is no signal. Okay. And let us consider even there is no this battery, base emitter junction battery. So obviously this base emitter junction will be never forward bias, and if it is not forward bias, though the battery is connected here, no collector current will flow from collector to emitter because of this base emitter junction is reverse bias. So in that case we can say the current, collector current which is flowing, that is exactly equal to 0. Okay, now in case of amplifier we saw we are using biasing methods. Okay, so biasing method is basically what is that? To provide voltage to the base. So let us consider we are now just connecting this VBB, no signal, that means VBB is directly connected to the base. So this whole battery will make this junction forward bias, but remember that input signal is absent, that means no input signal is there. So the potential of this battery is so adjusted that it will make this junction forward bias, and due to that the collector current will flow. But here note that there is no signal, so it is indicated on this graph. This is time axis and this is collector current. So now you see here it is collector current value is 0, but it is shown that some current is here, that is 0 signal collector current. That means whenever this signal is absent, whatever IC is continuously flowing, that is shown here, that is, this is called as a 0 signal collector current, and it is done through the biasing. Okay, now the collector current is constant. Now how amplification is happening? So when collector current is constant, so the current is flowing through RC and we get some output voltage that is equal to this IC into the value of RC. That remember. So when no input signal is there, we are getting a fixed output voltage. But now whenever we are connecting this input signal here, so we know that input signal is an AC signal. Remember that is an AC signal, means it is continuously changing with respect to time. See here it is, the signal is like this, voltage is increasing, it is positive, it is decreasing, it is negative. So suppose this is 0.1 volt, 0.2, 0.3, or up to here it is 0.5 volt. So whenever voltage is increasing, it is being added in this. So note that here, before applying signal, due to only this DC polar batteries, whatever current flows, that is IC, is indicated by capital IC. Similarly, IE and IB, when there it is only DC potential, that is IE, and it is IB. These are the currents due to presence of the batteries only. Signal is absent. Now whenever the signal comes into picture, as this voltage is increasing, so now in addition to this voltage, during positive half cycle, the potential at the base increases, and due to that this junction becomes more forward biased and current IC increases, which is shown on the graph. So here, as input signal increases, the current IC also increases, and during negative half cycle the output current decreases. So this process is going on, and this way we can say that the amplification is taking place. So here one important thing is that actually this signal is having less amplitude and this is large. So where from that energy or power is taken? Actually this energy is taken from this battery VCC, and that is why we get amplified signal. Now whenever we connect signal, along with, in addition to IC, IE and IB, we get this small I into small c, that is suffix small c. It is the current in collector due to presence of this input signal. Remember, similarly there it is IE in emitter and IB into IB in base. So these are due to presence of AC signals. And therefore, here notation, remember that here it is IC is only DC, then small I and small c, it is due to signal, and total current in the circuit, that is I into capital C, I capital C, that is equal to IC plus small IC. So here total current is now due to DC also and due to AC also. So this is the working action of an amplifier. So get it confirmed that these batteries provide the zero signal current, which is shown here. Whenever input signal is provided, according to input signal, as signal varies, voltage across base emitter junction increases during positive half cycle and decreases during negative half cycle. So there it is a change in base emitter resistance, which causes corresponding change in collector current, and collector current varies according to change in input signal. So here we get at the output. Now the same current IC is flowing through this. So we know that the current is changing. So as current is changing, the voltage across RC is this current into resistance. That is, you know that V is equal to R into I. So the I is also changing with respect to base change. So we get a variation in the output, and that is nothing but the amplification using transistor. So this is basic concept of amplification. Now we are going to see how these things, that means this zero signal collector current. See, if we do not use this zero signal collector current, it is very important that if we apply this kind of input signal, and I have shown here it is 0.5 is the amplitude. So though the signal is increasing, so it becomes 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 up to 0.5, but if transistor is silicon, the knee voltage for this diode is 0.7 volt and input signal is less than 0.7, so it will never get forward bias and never collector current will flow or change, and we shall not get the amplification at the output. So in order to get the variation or change in the output for the complete input cycle, we need to apply certain voltage to this, and that we already saw it is a biasing. So these are the concept with amplifier. Now when no signal is there, we need to fix some collector current, and that we are going to see in details in DC and AC load lines. Okay. So now we are going to talk about transistor load line analysis. So we are trying to understand what is load lines, what is DC load line, and what is AC load line, that we are going to see. Now see, in transistor circuit analysis, it is necessary to determine the collector current IC for various VC. So that you remember that we are going to talk about this, what is DC load line. And the most convenient method is, that is a load line method, which we are going to consider. So see, what is DC load line? Basically it is line on transistor output characteristics which gives the values of IC and VC corresponding to zero signal. So remember that this is very important, that we are trying to understand and find out the value of IC and VC corresponding to zero signal. So we already studied the output characteristics of transistor. So now second, it is straight line joining the cutoff and saturation points. So we already know what is saturation region, active region, and cutoff region. So now we are going to see in details. So here it is a straight line joining cutoff and saturation points on output characteristics. So first thing, we already saw the output characteristics. Here it is VCE line and this is IC. So here it is active region that we know already. Now see what is happening in case of this transistor when we talk about DC load line. So remember that the most important thing for using transistor as an amplifier, we need to set zero signal current. That is, remember, zero signal current. That is most important. So now, what is that concept? Remember that here, this is the circuit of transistor. It is shown here, and biasing is provided through base resistance RB. So whenever there is no input signal, here the battery is connected to RB, and through which the voltage is given to the base of the transistor. Now here again similarly, when this base junction is not forward biased, let us consider it is 0 volt here, or say this RB is absent, it is not connected here. So obviously the transistor will not function, and note that if the transistor junction is not forward biased, the resistance between emitter and collector is infinite. Here the DC load line determines the locus of VC and IC points for any given value of RC. Now see, as we saw, when diode is transistor is fully forward biased, its resistance is 0. So voltage across VCE is equal to VCC. This is extreme point. So this is a maximum possible value of VCE. And when this diode is fully forward biased, so the resistance drops to 0 and voltage across VCE is equal to resistance between VCE is almost 0. At that time the maximum value of collector current is IC, and that is equal to the only current IC flowing is IC is equal to VCC upon RC. So that is maximum possible value of IC. So when we join these 2 points, we get the load line that is called as a DC load line. So here the DC load line determines the locus of VC-IC points for any given value of RC. So here we can see this is one point, this is another point, this is third point. So we can understand. So for this point, this is the value of VCE, and corresponding value of IC is this. So this way we can locate the points. For every value of VC, we can find out the value of IC. So here, when VCE is equal to 0, we know that IC, which is maximum, that is equal to VCC upon RC. If IC is equal to 0, that means when transistor is fully forward biased, fully reverse bias, IC is equal to 0, VCE is equal to maximum, that is equal to VCC. So from this graph, this OC, which is corresponding to this Q point, okay. So this OC corresponding to Q point is the zero signal collector current. That means when there is no input signal, whatever the amount of collector is flowing in the circuit, that is called as a zero signal collector current, and this is called as a Q point. So the Q point, it is a point on characteristics for zero signal values of IC and VC. So when no input signal is there, whatever the value of collector current, that is OC, and whatever the value of VCE, that is called as a Q point. So in fact, it is also called as a silent point. That means whenever no input signal is present, still we get certain current, collector current in the circuit, and corresponding collector emitter voltage. So this is called as a Q point. Now this is what the DC load line. That means still we saw we have not connected the AC input signal. But when input signal AC is connected, we know that when AC is connected, so in addition to DC, that means see DC collector current is DC plus here it is I small is collector current due to IC, and that is equal to total current IC that we already saw. Similarly, IE and IB. So when input signal is connected, AC load line. So now we talk about the AC load line. That is a concept of AC load line comes into picture. So here it is the line shown on the graph, which is called as the AC load line, and remember that it is steeper than the DC load line. That is second important thing, that both lines intersect at the Q point. That is important thing, and Q point is actually variation is there in this and this. So here it is a line along Q point which shifts when changes in output voltage and output current of an amplifier are caused by applying an AC signal. So this variation is due to the applying the AC signal at the input. So it is steeper than DC load line. Both lines intersect at Q point that we saw. AC load line takes AC load resistance into account. So see, for DC load line we know that VCE is equal to VCC. So for if we consider this is a DC load line, so here VCE is the VCC, that is a saturation point, cutoff point, because of this region is cutoff region. And for the same DC load line, IC is equal to VCC upon RC, that is a saturation point. But in case of AC load line, these points are different because of the effect of AC input voltage. So for AC load line, VCE is now is equal to VCEQ, that is the voltage across collector emitter at Q point, plus ICQ into RAC. So this additional voltage is there due to AC signal. And similarly, IC saturation is equal to ICQ plus VCQ upon RAC. So remember that this RAC comes into picture in case of AC load line, and in case of DC load line we have VC is equal to VCC and IC is equal to VCC upon RC. So these are the concept of AC and DC load line. So these load lines are very important to find out the collector current at corresponding VC, and in designing the amplifier circuit for zero signal setting zero signal collector current value. Okay, thank you very much.